Hi, this is Chelle of Chelle's Creations. In this video, I want to talk with you about ways that you can get more out of your alphas. In particular today, I'm going to be using my new favorite alpha, the Big Screen Alpha. The reason it's called the Big Screen Alpha is because I made it to go with a collab with other Scrap Orchard designers, and the name of the collab was Big Screen. I love the big, chunky, playful nature of this alpha, and I think it's going to go great on a lot of the fun layouts that I'm working on. So in order to show you how this tutorial works, we're going to start with a layout that I am nearly finished with. In fact, on this layout I have the title in place, I have it arranged and shadowed and ready to go. And you'll notice that I've used the black here and not one of the other colors. It's important for this tutorial to use the black. Okay, and I don't hate the black here. It kind of ties in with this dark suits on these silly photos that my daughters and their cousins were reenacting some photos from when they were kids. I don't dislike the black, but what if you wanted it to coordinate with a paper from a kit? This is a way that you can use this alpha to coordinate with anything. I'm going to go ahead and use this paper. It has some of the same floral colors as the layout that I'm working on. I'm going to go ahead and drag that onto my layout. Okay, and in particular, the scale of this paper is larger than my title. I want it smaller, so I'm going to shrink it down. That's not necessary for the tutorial, but it will make the flowers appear on these letters in the size I want them. Okay, we need to clip this paper to the Y, and in order to do that, one of the easiest ways to do it is to hold down your Alt key when your cursor is over top of the line in between the two that you want to clip together. The cursor will change to that separate icon that kind of looks like, hey, we're going to clip these two together, and you just click, and that clips the paper to the alpha. Now, we can clip papers to alphas. Any alpha will work for that purpose, but I like the little white lines that outline this, and there's a way to bring those white lines back, and that's why we use the black and white letters. If we change the blending mode on this paper, and change the blending mode right up here, and if we change it to lighten, what that will do is it will let the actual black Y show where it's the lightest, and it will let the layer that's clipped to it show where it's lighter. And because everything is lighter than black, I'll get my white line and my paper. Now that it's easy to duplicate that for all of your other letters. You just hold down the Alt key, click and drag, hold down the Alt key, clip the two together, hold down the Alt key, click and drag, hold down the Alt key, clip the two together, and so on. So we could make our entire title work that way. I'm going to undo a few of those because I want to show you some other papers clipped. Okay, let's look at you could do solid colored papers as well and clip those. I'm going to use the denim that I have in the back here because it will simulate the same thing as the solid colored paper. So let's go snag that denim paper. Holding down my Alt key, click and drag. Remember, Alt, click and drag works in your layers palette as well as on your layout itself. There they are. All right, let's go ahead. We need to drag it over here over top of our title. Same thing, we clip it to it. Change the blending mode to lighten. And there we go, we have our lines. Now this works well for papers that are kind of medium or a little bit darker in nature, but what about a paper that is mostly white or has some white to it? Let's go ahead and try this one. Let's drag it over top of our title, and again, scale wise I want it to be a little bit smaller, so I'm going to go ahead and shrink it and locate it on there. Now we're going to clip it to it, and again I'm going to change the blending mode on this one. This time I'm going to zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to change the blending mode on this one to lighten. When I do, I get the white lines, but because there's already white on this print, it doesn't stand out as much. I would like that better if it were black instead, and there's a quick and easy way to do that. Let me show you how. First, I want to make this layer invisible so we can see the black L, because that's what I'm going to be working on. And then over here in the layers palette, make sure you have that black L selected, and then we need to invert it or do the inverse. The short key for that is to hold down your Command key and I, and that will invert it. Now you'll notice that that made the black areas white and the white area black. Now this wasn't totally black, so it didn't make it totally white. And this wasn't totally white, so it didn't make that totally black, but we need to fix that. Otherwise, it won't work very well. So let's go ahead and we need to adjust the levels on this. The short key for that is Command or Control L. What you get is some type of a waveform here. I can tell you that this big chunk over here on the right is the whites. So grab your little arrow over here on the right and drag it past the whites, and that will make the white part completely white. Do the same thing with the dark side. Drag it in a little ways till it's past the big spikes of black, and that will make it completely black. That will make it work quite well. All right, now let's turn that layer on. Now you'll notice that because we've chosen lighten, it's only showing up above our black. So let's change the blending mode on that paper layer. Select the paper layer, and instead of lighten, go right up here to darken. And there we go. Dark lines around any paper. Isn't this a fun thing for how you can take this alpha and make it work with anything you've got? Let's do one more just for fun. Okay, this time I'm going to do the S, and I'm going to use this paper from the Trick or Treat collection because it reminds me of fall. My son right now is insistent that we are decorating for fall. He has a few webs and spiders out. I keep telling him it's too early. Let's go ahead and drag this one on. And this one I'd also like to change the scale, and in fact on this one I'm going to point out that it doesn't even have to be as big as the whole word, because you're going to use that paper over and over again on each layer, and you can just move it over as you need to. Let's clip it to the S, holding down Alt and clicking. Alright, let's first change the blending mode on this one to lighten. Okay, I can see the white S, but I think overall if I were looking at the layout, I don't think that that would stand out as much as I would like it to if it were black. So I'm going to repeat that process again. First, let's make this layer invisible so that we can just play with it. Select the alpha layer, Command or Control I to invert it, then Command or Control L to adjust the levels. Grab the slider and move it towards the center, make it completely white. Make your black completely black and say OK, and turn it back on. Now remember, we need it to be darken, not lighten. And there we go, and that would make a perfect Halloween alpha. If you have any questions, you can reach me at shells.creations1@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.